Hi everyone and welcome back. Now in today's video we are going to discuss about the subdomain delegation. Now whenever you're working with Route53, you can either work with a parent domain or you can also work with the subdomain depending upon the use case. So the first important pointer is that you can create a subdomain that uses the Amazon Route53 as a DNS service without migrating the parent domain from another DNS service. So let's quickly understand with a small animation where let's say that you have a specific DNS provider apart from Amazon Route53 where you have a domain that is hosted. So here you have a domain called as kplabs.in, which is the parent domain which is hosted here. Now you can go ahead and perform a delegation to the Route53 so that a specific subdomain is hosted at a Route53 level, so that all the record sets that are associated with the subdomains are managed at a Route53 level. So you have a record of demo.kplabs.in, you have a record of 01.demo.kplabs.in, and you have the appropriate values. So everything is managed at a Route53 level for this specific subdomain. However, in order to achieve this kind of a architecture, this part of delegation is important. So if you look into the records associated with a parent domain here, you will have to provide the name server values of this specific Route53 zone to the parent zone here. For example, demo.kplabs.in followed by the NS record associated with this Route53 hosted zone of demo.kplabs.in. Alright, so also let's go ahead and look into how exactly it would look practically. Now for today's demo, I have a domain called as kplabsinternal.com in Route53, just for an example. Now along with that, in a different browser, I have a domain which is demo.kplabsinternal.com, which is nothing but the subdomain of this primary domain. And both of these are hosted in a separate AWS accounts altogether. Again, the kplabs internal need not necessarily be at a Route53. It can also be at a different DNS provider. It does not really matter here. Now, if you look into this specific zone, we have a demo kplabsinternal.com. There is a NS record, and in the NS record, there are certain values that are associated. And these values are nothing but the values that demo.kplabsinternal.com has from a separate account. So whenever you create a hosted zone, for example, you get a certain set of NS records. So these NS records that you receive, these are the records that you will have to add it at a parent zone level. All right. And then the overall subdomain delegation would work. For example, in this demo kplabsinternal.com, I have two records, 01.demo.kplabsinternal.com, 02.demo.kplabsinternal.com. So let's go ahead and verify if this gets resolved. And from one of the websites, let me add the record here. Let's look up the DNS, and the address is 172.168.0.10, which is very similar to this. Let's also verify the second record. I'll add it here. I'll look up the DNS, and as expected, you have 1077.30.5, which is similar to this. So let's also go ahead and create one more record just to verify if things are working. I'll say 03. And within here, I'll just say 192.168.0.5. I'll go ahead and create a record. And if we just change it to 03, as expected here, you see, we are getting the updated address. Great. So I hope with this you understood on how the subdomain based delegation would work. Now, few important things specifically related to the steps. The first step when you generally do a subdomain delegation is you create a hosted zone in Route53 associated with a subdomain. For example, you create a hosted zone of demo.kplabsinternal.com in Route53, and then you add the NS record for the subdomain to the zone file for the parent domain. This is something that we have seen. So generally, whenever you create a hosted zone in Route53, you get a certain set of NS records. Now, in fact, let me also show you so that there is no confusion. So let's say I say subdomain.kplabsinternal.com. Whenever you create a hosted zone, you get a certain set of NS records back. Here you see, you get a NS records. So all you'll have to do is in the parent domain, it can be in Route53 or any other provider, you add this record called as subdomain.kplabsinternal.com. The type should be NS and the value should be the one that you see in this subdomain here. Alright, and then the overall delegation would work pretty well. And the last important pointer that needs to be noted is that depending upon the TTL setting for the name servers for the parent domain, the propagation of your changes to the DNS resolvers can take 48 hours or more as well. Generally, in most of the scenarios, this is not the case, but again, you have to keep a note of this. Great. So that's a high level overview, and with this, we'll conclude today's video.